Hey guys, it's Lucia, and today I wanted to do one of my recent reads videos because I know a lot of you like them, but I haven't done one this year yet. Because of that, I have read a lot of books, but I'm not going to share all of them with you, just kind of my highlights and the ones that I want to recommend. The first one I mentioned in my May favorites, and also on Twitter a couple times if you follow me on there, but this is An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth by Chris Hadfield. Chris Hadfield is an astronaut, and on this book he kind of shares his journey to becoming an astronaut and what it means to him and what it means to be an astronaut, but at the same time it is quite an inspirational book. It is definitely my favorite one that I've read so far this year, and it kind of has become one of my all-time favorite books. I also said this in my May favorites, but it really has changed the way that I look at things in life. Even if you're not interested in becoming an astronaut or anything in science, this can really teach you a lot about life, and I think anyone who reads it can become a better person. I definitely think I've become a better person since reading this book. I mean, I bought the physical book, so that means a lot because I usually just read them on my iPad. But I bought this one after I read it, and then I read it again. So yeah, I kind of feel like I owe Chris Hadfield a lot now, and I've definitely become a huge fan of his, and he's now one of my top people that I would love to meet in life. He has this one thing about being a zero in this book that I just really relate a lot to. So if you read it, please let me know what you think about that, and honestly, this is amazing. You will not regret it if you read this book. Now, talking about people that I would love to meet in life that I think are very inspirational, the second book that I've read that I really like is about Elon Musk. If you don't know who Elon Musk is, I honestly don't know where you're living, but he is the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, which is just like a space exploration company. So the book is called Elon Musk Inventing the Future, and that's because he does talk a lot about artificial intelligence and all that stuff, so he is quite like a visionary, I would say, definitely. The book is written by Ashley Vance, and it is a biography on his life, so it pretty much shares what have been his steps to becoming who he is today and to being the influential person that he has become. So you definitely have to be interested in Elon Musk and what he's doing right now to read this book, I think. This is quite interesting to read also because he hasn't had the life that you think he would have. But yeah, it's really interesting, and I definitely love reading about this because I love Elon Musk, and yeah, I've shared that on Twitter as well if you follow me on there, and yeah, loved it. The third book I've read is called The Simpsons and Their Mathematical Secrets, and yeah, that's a non-fiction book that I've read, and it's actually really good. You definitely have to be interested in math and science to read this one. If that's not your thing, then maybe don't go for it. But if you've ever watched The Simpsons and you like them, you know that they include a lot of math stuff in it because a lot of the writers have mathematical backgrounds. So this book goes into it and kind of explains a lot of those math jokes and things in it, a lot more mathematical theories and stuff like that, so it is quite technical at points, but yeah, like I said, you have to be interested in math to read this one. The only thing I didn't like about it is that halfway through it, it goes into Futurama stuff, which is another TV show quite similar to it, which shares a lot of writers and producers with The Simpsons, and to me it's just like, this is not the book that I wanted to read. I wanted to read about The Simpsons, but still it was quite interesting, so yeah. The last book is called The Psychopath Test, A Journey Through the Madness Industry, and that's written by John Brunson. Like the title suggests, it sort of goes into how psychopaths have been treated by different institutions through history, and it's actually quite interesting to read. I really liked it. It's quite different from anything I've read before. It also follows kind of a pace, so it's not just information in your face. I don't know what made me read this book, but I actually really liked it. And it's just quite interesting to see how those people are treated, just because it's one of those things you don't really hear about any other place. So if you want to know about it, you have to really look for it and read about it yourself. Again, there's not really much to say about this one other than that, but if you are interested or if it sounds like something you might like, then it's quite good. Now we're changing completely and we're going into fantasy. I read two books that are part of the same series, the Shades of Magic series, and the first one's called A Darker Shade of Magic, and the second one is A Gathering of Shadows, and there's a third one coming next year, I think. The story takes place in a world with magic, where this guy, Kel, can travel through different worlds, I guess, but like the same city in different worlds, so it's kind of London in different worlds, and it's just quite interesting. It's really hard to explain because you don't want to give away the plot, but if you're interested in magic, and fantasy and all those kind of books, this is really good. It is not a young adult book. I think it's considered an adult book, so it's quite different from other sort of fantasy trilogies and all that stuff, which I really like because I was getting a bit tired of those young adult trilogies, so this is quite fresh for me in that way. The second book is just as good as the first one, and you just, I don't know, you just go through it so fast because it's really good. The pace is also amazing. You don't get those boring parts that you sometimes get in books in the middle that comes to a point where you're like, okay, when is this getting good again? But it's just that good the whole time. I just really like it. Which leads me to the second book in the Red Queen series, which is called Glass Sword. I didn't like this as much as I wanted to. I really liked the first book. I thought it was quite fresh, and this is young adult fantasy, so yeah, that goes along with what I was saying before. I know a lot of people love it, and judging by the reviews, a lot of people love it. So if you're into that stuff, then this is why I'm recommending it, because I know even if I didn't like it that much, I know a lot of people will like it. So if you're into that stuff or you've read Red Queen, then this might be good for you. But I just wasn't that impressed with it. I didn't think the pace was good at all, and I didn't think the characters were too different from the place they stopped in the first book. So they didn't really have much development throughout this book, which quite annoys me a little bit in books. Now, Ready Player One by Ernest Cline is one that I've heard a lot of people talk about and everyone loves it. It takes place in a futuristic time where virtual reality is quite developed and everyone can kind of go into a game, sort of like The Matrix, but not really. More like if you go online and play The Sims, but you actually become one of the Sims, sort of thing. And everyone just lives in that virtual reality, which I think is really interesting, again, going with the AI sort of topic. It is about this guy who sort of dies and leaves a fortune behind, and sort of everyone tries to play different games to try to find where that fortune is, because one of them can actually win it. So the main character is this nerd that's obsessed with that one guy and everything he's done in his life, and he sort of takes on that challenge to try to win all that money and all that fortune. And the last book is actually a Sherlock Holmes story that is not fantasy, but I'm just gonna include it in this video anyway because it's quite random in the sense that there are no others that I've read so far that are quite like it. This one's called The House of Silk, and it's written by Anthony Horowitz. And I have a book right here. This is actually my sister's, and she loved it as well, and she was like, you have to read it. Here's the book, read it. As you can see, the author of this is not Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I don't know if you guys know about this, but there's this whole Sherlock Holmes Foundation type of thing where they don't really allow anyone to write stories about Sherlock Holmes without their permission. But they asked this guy to write this story, and it's just really good. The pace is amazing. It feels like an authentic Sherlock Holmes story if you've read any. So if you like the TV show Sherlock, or the Sherlock Holmes movies and all that stuff, I definitely recommend this book because it's really good. And it just feels like an authentic Sherlock Holmes story, which is quite amusing because it's not the same writer. But it also feels quite fresh and new in a way. I think he's done a really amazing job at writing this. And I think it's quite a challenge to write something so known and so popular. But he's done an amazing job, and there's another story called Moriarty that I really want to read because I know it's going to be just as good as this one. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I'll keep you guys updated. So that's going to be everything for this video. I really hope you guys liked it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you guys later with another video. Bye!